Hello and welcome to Inflection Point Conversations. I'm Michelle Obeda, an art director and 3D artist. In this podcast series, I'll be interviewing experts in the fields of art, architecture, visualization, video games, and other similar industries. Together, we'll take a deep dive into the disruptive topics that have reached an inflection point in our industry. If you're enjoying this podcast, please take a moment to like, rate, and subscribe. You can also comment and give feedback. I'd love to reach more people and grow this amazing community. Today, I'm talking with Mfon Enoh. Mfon Enoh is a passionate game developer and Unreal Engine instructor who is dedicated to guiding aspiring game developers through their creative journeys. As a E14 Fortnite creator and a Women in Games ambassador, Mfon champions the transformative power of gaming for learning and societal enrichment. Mfon's commitment to education extends beyond the classroom, fostering connections that bridge the gap between learning and real-world opportunities. Welcome, Mfon.
Thank you so much for having me, Michelle.
It's great to have you here. So I'm very excited to speak to you. Like I was just saying before we started recording, we found each other on LinkedIn, and there's so many ways in which all of your experiences are things that I'd love to talk to you about and things I'm interested in. So very excited to have you here.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Yeah. So let's start. You're a game developer and an Unreal Engine instructor. When did you get interested in video games, and what are you most interested in?
Okay. I didn't grow up playing games as a child, largely due to the traditional beliefs around gaming. My interest packed up when I completed a 6-month program in 3D animation and mixed reality. After the program, I was curious. I wanted to know how the games I played, the mobile games on my phone, because those were the only games I had exposure to. I played mobile games on my phone. I was curious. I wanted to know how these games are made, and that was how I started a self-taught journey in game development.
Oh, that's cool. And was there a game that you remember that you liked in particular on your phone that like got you interested?
Okay, since I didn't have much exposure to playing games as a child, only a few Android phones with the rise of mobile games. I played a few. I played the Ludo games, Tetris, and the rest. And those were the only games I really played. And these were the things that sparked off my. I was curious, even though they were just basic games. I wanted to know how things are done. So mobile games were accessible for me, and they offered me interesting entry path into game development.
Yeah, that's cool. I bet actually a lot of people, since everyone has mobile phones, I suppose that might be like how the vast majority of people who get into gaming probably do get into it through their phones. Do you think that that's true?
Most people, like in Africa, the mobile games are on the rise now because you now have lots of Android phones, and generally there are games. Even when you purchase, you don't have to install. There are games that come with your phone, so it's accessible. Mobile games are truly accessible, and it's one thing that has increased the awareness about playing games and even virtual games too.
That really makes sense. You're in Nigeria. I didn't really introduce where you are in the world, which is awesome to connect with you through a different continent, which is amazing. And so it's cool to hear the different way into how people get into games in different countries as well, right? You've been involved in education for most of your career. You've been a university program coordinator, volunteer teacher, Unreal Engine instructor, and specifically a Fortnite instructor. What do you enjoy most about being an educator?
The most rewarding aspect about being an educator is seeing the spark on the eyes of my students, the glow on their faces when they know what they previously didn't know. For instance, in game development, after sessions, when students realize they can build their world, they can build their worlds, they can build experiences. There's this glow on their faces, and that for me is truly rewarding. Being an educator is about guiding people to realize their full potential and creativity.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. Wow. I can't really imagine that. But I feel like the first time that I did like 3D modeling and I made a world, like the first time that I put that into a game when I worked in video games, I think I had the same glow probably. And
Yes.
that's yeah. And that's so cool that you get to see that, to bring that out into like
They're
young
like,
people.
wow, the games I
Yeah.
play, I can actually, they see the interactivity and how it's being done. That for
Yeah.
me is it's something very rewarding. It's very rewarding for me. It gave me that push
Yeah.
to keep doing that.
Yeah, that's cool. Was there a great teacher that you remember having that got you into educating?
I've had a few mentors that inspired me. In my high school, I had great chemistry teachers. Two of them, they were really great, and right from my high school, I started because of the way their teaching method. I was also able to relate or better explain things to my classmates, my seatmates. It started from the assignments, we discuss it. These things helped me because I had great chemistry teachers in my high school. However, it is the opportunity to empower people that has really given me that push to be an educator. Yeah, when you empower people, there's this happiness that comes to me to see that I can impact someone to do better, and this really drives me. Yeah, the
Yeah.
ability to impact someone, shape their future, they are a part of their life, and this drives me a lot.
Yeah. There's so much power in that as well. I feel like if I remember some of the good teachers that I've had who have been really inspiring, is I think that they've just wanted to sort of empower you. It's like, oh yeah, like now I feel like I can do more things, and
Yeah,
that's yeah, that's amazing. It's like a really good way. That's a really good, I think, way for a teacher to see it as well. um so you're an Unreal Engine instructor and a Fortnite instructor. How did you get into that? So that's with Epic
so
Games.
my journey into being an Unreal Engine instructor started when I started learning game development myself using Unreal Engine. So
Hmm.
I said to myself, since it's just me, I didn't have a teacher, I was just learning on my own through personal research, taking courses, YouTube, and the rest. I thought to myself, okay, I'll give myself 2 years to learn. 2 years will help me. I didn't have any knowledge of coding C++, so I gave myself minimum 2 years. Uh, However, when I started learning, it wasn't up to 3 months. Uh, a friend reached out to me that someone wanted to learn game development or Unreal Engine, and I thought I could do that. And I said to him, I'm learning too. I'm barely 3 months, 3 months old, and
Yeah.
but he wanted me to really do it. And I said to him, okay, can your friend wait another 3 months so at least I learn for 6 months? Because the first 3 months, I, I could barely navigate the environment and do stuff like that. Oh,
Yes.
and then I thought I was going to stop him. But he reached out after some days and said, well, his friend is willing to wait. I said, really? To wait for 3 months for me to get back to start teaching him? He said, yes, he was willing to wait. And then it paid off that. Wow, that was
Hmm.
a wow to me. I was like, someone waits these skills so dearly this way. That
Ah,
means
yeah.
I really I need to do something. So from then I began to personal research on learning, teaching. I realized then that very few women in Africa are into game development. And that caught
Hmm.
my attention. And so
Yeah.
I began to learn faster than ever. Someone was waiting, remember? Someone was waiting for me. And then I told myself, you don't have to wait for 10 years before teaching. You don't have
Yeah.
to wait for 5 years before you give back to the society. As you learn, you can give back. After all, someone is not complaining, is willing to wait. And this is how it started. Someone
Yeah.
believed in me, and I knew that there were several others that really needed me. So this is how my knowledge and experiences led me to instructing game development, and it started then. And then in the same year, September same year, I was selected. I was among the about 100 women in the world selected by Epic Games for training Unreal Editor for Fortnite. I dived into it. It was a 5 weeks course, and it was in and out. It was very deep. And then after the 5 weeks course, surprisingly, an organization in Asia reached out. I finished the course in October, and by first week of December, when I was still trying to keep learning to better understand the editor, Unreal Editor for Fortnite, E14, an organization reached out and said, well, we have a community of students and we want you to teach them. I was like, really? How did you get to, I didn't apply for a job. They said, well, so we had a meeting to the management staff, and they said, well, we went through your LinkedIn profile and we think you're a good fit for this. And then something inside of me said, go for this, just do it. If this means someone somewhere needs you. And that was how in January the program started. It was a 5 weeks boot camp. That was how I started facilitating camp. Just 3 weeks into that, another organization in Canada reached out. And before I finished that, another organization in the UK reached out. And the happiness I get after every class. And don't forget that my background, I have over 10 years of teaching experience already. So it was natural. The flow was seamless. It was beautiful. Yeah. The graphs, my students turn back and they say, after a class, they just say, thank you. And then you see that somewhere it's affected, it's impacted. Yeah. This just gave me, that was how I was able to create a niche for this.
Yeah, that's so amazing. That's such a cool story. So it's like you were learning for this sort of relatively short period of time, and when you realized that you were already able to teach someone else, I guess that maybe do you think that gave you the confidence to think like to tell your students, I can teach you in this short period of time and you can already know quite a bit, because I think when you think that the learning curve is so steep, like if you think I have so far to learn before I get to this point, I can't do it, it puts you off. And I guess you're like what you've just told me, like your story is really saying you don't have to see this big curve, you can just do it in steps and you can already start making things.
I said to myself, I don't have to wait so long to understand the entire engine. So what I do, as I learn, I keep back as I learn. And this has been a wonderful way for me to even learn at 6 times. It has helped me a lot.
Yeah. So Unreal Engine it's very robust. I've talked to a lot of people about it and I've been using it too. And I think that when I've had colleagues who haven't used it before, I think the first thing that they feel is that it's intimidating because there's so many things.
So much to learn.
Yeah. But once you realize, I guess that you don't have to learn everything, you can already start. Like, what do you find to be powerful and inclusive about Unreal Engine?
Unreal Engine is a powerful tool, and this is because it gives creators at all levels. It gives them that ability to produce quality games. It gives creators to produce quality games and experiences. Also, it is inclusive. Unreal Engine is very inclusive because it is accessible. There is a community, a robust community, and then there are lots of resources, documentation where you can find solutions to problems. And so Unreal Engine accommodates all levels of developers.
Yeah. And being, because I spoke to a couple of other people who have been Unreal Engine instructors, it sounds like they get people from quite a lot of different backgrounds to be instructors. That I guess that means that they have teachers who, it's not like everyone just learned computer programming and coding. People come from different backgrounds.
I
guess that, so I guess that maybe like helps to have a variety of teachers who can explain things in different ways. Do you think that maybe helps, like if I want to find someone to explain to me in a way that I'm going to understand, I'll find an instructor who maybe has a similar background to me or something, and like
yes, you're very right. Because Unreal Engine is very broad, very wide, it's deep. So you have people, for instance, that are good at cinematics. You have people that are good in animation. Then you have people that are good at blueprint scripting, and then you have programmers. So these Unreal Engine instructors, if you want to learn, if you need your services, they can tailor your learning journey to what's best for you. And so you can start from one portion and then spread through the other aspects.
Yeah. Did you you said that you started learning C++ before you got into Unreal Engine. Do you or this is my understanding of coding is not very broad, but like, did you have to learn C++ to be able to do the blueprints, or do you think someone could get into coding in Unreal just by doing blueprints? Do you think you have to learn C++ as well?
In Unreal Engine, you can develop a complete game without C++. You can use the visual scripting or blueprints. It's the beautiful thing about Unreal Engine. You can get your game, you can build a game and deploy to any platform without a single line of coding. And this is the interesting part of Unreal Engine. You can use blueprints for visual scripting, which is like doing what exactly what coding does.
Yeah. Have you found, like, as someone who is teaching other people how to do this, have you found that has allowed more people, like, has that encouraged more people to get into coding because they don't have to learn scripting?
Yes, that has allowed more people to get into learning Unreal Engine. The fact that you can start and then start with blueprint. You can start with the material and then learning those aspects and gradually step into coding. You know, coding can as a way of pushing people off. I've met people that when they want to start a class and they're like, it's just coding, don't have to do programming, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then and then I have to just say, well, you can actually build a game without a line of code. However, the thing will go to like everything. We will start with blueprints, and then we'll learn that, and then gradually move into coding. That helps
Yes,
them.
I was gonna ask you, is the visual blueprints like a way of getting into coding? Like, does it actually encourage people? You can start with the blueprints, and then if you're interested, you can start learning coding, you can start learning the language.
Yes, blueprints can help because you know there are people. If you tell them we're starting on Unreal Engine class and the first thing start coding C++, they will run away because they don't want programming. But when you take the first few weeks class and then they realize they can do a whole lot, Unreal Engine can do a whole lot. Even before you talk about C++, you can take a complete course without talking about C++, and the job will be done. But this is what I always tell my students, frankly, I said, whatever is worth doing at all is worth doing well. That's what my mother talks for.
Yeah.
And I won't tell you not to, or to wave aside C++. No. I'm going to put you through the blueprint to see every other thing it does, but I'm telling you, you need to learn C++ to be better, to be good, so your game can come out even better. What if you're done learning and an organization needs you? And that's the aspect they want. So I always encourage my students to go all out for it. Go all out for it and learn and then keep learning. One thing about I'm still learning. I'm still learning. Yeah, keep learning this without. The beautiful thing is once you take the first step, then
Yeah.
you can always.
Yeah.
That first
Oh my
step
God.
is one thing that I encourage them to take. I always encourage my students to take the first step. I encourage you to showcase your work on social media because this has a way of really, really encouraging you. Those were the things. Remember that I'm self-taught. Those were the things that really encouraged me. So when I started the first 3 months, I would post on LinkedIn and people would reach out to me. Oh, I really love what you're doing. And some of them will say, I started where I dropped out. I was discouraged. It was so hard for me. And then I'll begin to encourage them, send them resources, and I'll tell them, no, don't give up. I have several people from different continents reach out to me, and I'll tell them, no. And after a while, they reach back to me and say, because of you, I'm back to Unreal. Because of you, I'm back to game development. So and those were basic steps I took. I hadn't even started coding, basic steps.
Yeah.
Because every work I do, I just personal project, I put out my personal project because I know someone somewhere will be encouraged.
Yeah, that's a really great message. I've heard the same thing from other people in like animation and in 3D art. Do you like posting your work, and I guess that's always been important for artists, is to sort of to showcase your work. Do you feel like gives you feedback, the creative feedback, and also gives you the encouragement that you, in a way, like you finish something, even if you're not posting a finished product.
Yeah.
Because I think that, like, I know that I felt this way, that it can be really daunting. You think, I don't want to put my work online to show other people. I'm afraid or I'm nervous about what they
Yeah.
think. But once you start doing it, you get very positive feedback. Then it encourages you to, like, okay, I'm on the right track, right?
Yeah, you're totally right. You see, everything you said, they are all the right thing. When I started, regardless of the level I am, I would just say, okay, today I'm posting this. There was a time I did a truck animation in Unreal Engine. I hadn't finished. It was kind of difficult for me. I said, you know what? Let me post this and get feedback to people. And then I did that, and I got several feedbacks. And all of them told me, okay, I think you should add camera shake. Do you know, I didn't know anything about that until the man mentioned. So these things, like, I'm mentoring some women in Africa currently. They were afraid to showcase their work happening. I told them, no, don't don't want it perfect. Don't want it complex. Just start.
Yeah.
And I made sure they all post their work on LinkedIn. And guess what? Their very first try posting their game development work was wow. So after that, I didn't even have to tell them again. They now post. I told them,
Yeah.
you see, people reach out to them. The encouragement they got, apart from the encouragement they got, that was what, because I know that worked for me. I know that
Yeah.
worked for me. I know that works a lot for other people. And that's my
Yeah.
mentee. That's always a go-to for my mentees. I tell them, just post. Sometimes I even tell them, go post that you're starting to learn, you're beginning to learn the development. Even if there's nothing to show, just say, oh, I want to start learning or relearning or relearn it for Fortnite. These things help. These things encourage you. And not just you, it encourages others. This I got to know about this when I did a 30-day LinkedIn challenge on LinkedIn. So to post my work for 30 days. I tell you, it was truly challenging. There were nights my codes failed, I couldn't compile, and there were nights I cried to bed, serious things. But somehow, when I kept on posting, I kept on trying, I overcame. And in a very short while, I turned back and I said, you mean I can navigate on Unreal Engine the way I do now? Sometimes I'm working on Unreal Engine now and I'm like, wow, I never thought I was going to be able to navigate lots of windows.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's very
Seriously,
powerful
I
when you
didn't know at
realize.
this point I would know what I would know. Seriously, truthfully. I didn't know. But thank God for those that believe in me. Thank God for people that reached out to me to encourage me. Thank God for people around me that came to say, well, don't give up. We see what we're doing. Just keep doing it. Those things will really help me.
Yeah. Yeah. I see why you're a great teacher. I feel like the way you talk is also just really encouraging. Like, it's so nice that you're talking about your experience, but you're also making other people feel like you can do it too, which is, like, so empowering. How do you think that gaming and making games encourages self-expression? I mean, do you feel like, for you personally?
Yes, gaming and game development allows for storytelling. It allows for world building on an interactive level. So gaming is one of the medium that helps people to express themselves. You can express yourself visually. You can express yourself by interacting with other players and making choices within the world that you're in. So yes, it allows for self-expression a whole lot. It encourages self-expression.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And do you so the next question I was going to ask you, which is related, which is, what do you think video games allows people to do that other media, like movies or books or drawing, whatever, can't? But is it like the interactivity?
Video games are immersive and interactive in a way that movies and books are not. If you watch a movie, you just watch. If you read a book, you just read a book. But in video games, players are part of the narrative. They're making choices and they directly see the outcome of the choices they make. And so this creates like a personal connection to the story and characters. And this is totally unique to gaming, just gaming. You can only get this in gaming.
Yeah, definitely. So you feel like the idea of the storytelling, because sometimes you have a bit of a mix where like video games become so cinematic that you, in a way, you know, you have long cutscenes, for example, and then it feels like a little mini movie moment. But then the interactive part is like now you, the player, are part of this thing that you've just seen.
You can make choices. You can make choices, and then you see the outcome of the choices you make real time, and then you can try again. You make a mistake, you after the first round, you can try again and do better. So there's this connection that comes with play.
Yep. So tell me about being a Women in Games ambassador. So you mentioned a little bit how you were approached at some point as you were learning to be a Women in Games ambassador, but what does it mean? What is that?
Becoming a Women in Games ambassador is a step in my journey that I had to take when I was to advocate for more diversity in the industry. I got involved in Women in Games, being a Women in Games ambassador, because I wanted to help break down barriers for women, ensuring that they see gaming as accessible, they see gaming as a viable career option. And that's why I became a Women in Games ambassador, to advocate for inclusivity in the industry.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I was telling you before that I worked in video games for 6 years. I was making games, and there weren't that many women in games, and I know that there's more and more. And I think that it's really great when people are encouraging to sort of show more, you know, because there's so many women who I know now. I know a lot more women in games, and there's more. I feel like that encourages other women to get into it. Like, is that kind of the point? Like your visibility, for example, as a woman who works in games, just the fact that people see you, do you think that's also encouraging to other people to be like, oh, I see her, she's in that, like, it's not just men?
Yeah, absolutely. When people see someone or people from diverse backgrounds, when they see them in the games industry, when they see that they are visible in the game industry, it encourages them. It signals to them that if they can, then I can do it as well. I can succeed in this field as well. And it also brings in a range of voices and different stories told from different perspectives. And this really enriches the industry.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So recently, I also was talking to someone who taught himself how to be an animated filmmaker, and he's from India, and he lived in lots of different countries, and he's now in New York. And he was telling me how because he's really an expert at storytelling. And I was asking him, like, do all of these different backgrounds, like all the different backgrounds in your life, encourage storytelling? And really, I think that, and I guess for video games, that's also really true. Like to have all these different voices,
you
have different kinds of games.
Yeah. So people tell stories from different perspectives. You know, they showcase even their culture and beliefs. It comes up during this, and yes, sure.
Yeah, do you also, I mean, would you like to see, or have you seen more games coming out from like different countries, different continents, like more women in Nigeria, for example, or like different games coming from Africa that are being designed that sort of tell a background and tell a story that is just not just the typical ones that are maybe Eurocentric or, you know, America-centric?
Yes. If you observe, if you have done research on African games, you see that most of the African games really, really thriving. They tell African stories. Yes, they tell African stories. There's this there's Iwaju that was produced by Malio Games. It's totally an African story, and several of them. The Juju games, they tell African stories in their games. That yes, true. These diverse backgrounds help to tell African stories. I've seen for the females, even though there's still a gap there's a significant gap between male and female, so you can't tell a ratio. But I can tell you that in the making, there are women transiting into game development in Africa compared to 5-10 years ago. More women are coming up. At least I know I've helped some women transit into game development. I know in the next 5-10 years, more women will start playing this field.
Yeah, that's really amazing. So, from the students that you teach, in particular the women and young people do you find that people like have told you that they wanted to get into games but they didn't feel like they could? Like, did they tell you that these are the boundaries, this is what's stopping me?
Yes. Even as of yesterday, I had a meeting with some of my mentees, and this was one of them. I told them, what can you come up with project ideas on what you want to do next in the next 1 to 3 months? That is a prototype. And one of them said, well, I think I want to make this game, but I have a feeling that I cannot do it. And then I had to explain that, no, it's like having lots of tiles on the floor. You can just start by picking one and having a prototype of what you want to do, and then you can spread through it. And before you know it, you're building a whole wonderful world. Most of them will talk about resources, and I'll say start with what you have, use what is in your hands, and before you know it, you'll be able to scale up.
That's a really good analogy, tiles on the floor. So you don't have to lay the whole floor in one go. You just have to put one tile and another tile, and you can build the game like that. Yeah. That's really cool. I love that you're in video games and also encouraging other people to get into it. I think that it's, I mean, your enthusiasm is very obvious as we speak, and the fact that you taught yourself from the beginning, you're obviously a very motivated person. But like, I think that's also that's also like, that passes on to the people that you speak. I feel like I can go make a game now, and I wasn't planning to.
You're welcome.
Yeah, for sure. I have a closing question for you. What would you like to tell young people listening to this that want to get into making games?
Don't be afraid to start slow. Start from where you are. Start with what you have in your hands. Every big game developer started from somewhere. And with the available tools today, the barriers to entry are lower than ever before. Yes, there are lots of tools, there are lots of engines that you can use for game development. If you don't want to use this, you can use the other engine, and there are lots of them. You have Unreal Engine, Unity, Godot. And then keep learning. Be persistent. Let your passion guide you. Remember that the gaming industry needs your unique voice.
The gaming industry needs your unique voice. Yeah, that's a really good lesson. I love that, and I can't wait for people to listen to this and to see this video and feel inspired by you. And I definitely encourage them to get in touch. I'm going to put your details in the show notes, and people, if they want to learn, they can reach out to you. So I think that would be amazing. Thank you so much, Mfon. It's been a wonderful conversation and very, very encouraging.
It's a pleasure having me. Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you for having me in this wonderful podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.